There we go.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CEC 15 business meeting. It is August 23rd, 2022. I'm Camille Casaretti, the president of CEC 15. I'm going to hand the floor over to Antonia Ferraro to do the roll call.
Hello, everybody. Camille Casaretti.
I am
Are
present.
you present? Yes. Antonia Ferraro. Yes, I'm present. Tia Shelsteed. I didn't see her on the call, but maybe she'll come later. Vincent Liu. Did anyone see Vincent Liu? Okay, we'll check in later. Nana Poku Ajakum.
Yeah, right here.
Okay. Alfred DeAngelis. I didn't see him in the list. Joseph Alexander.
Present.
Yvonne Banda. Yvonne Banda. Nancy Randall.
Present.
Vanessa Gonzalez Uoka.
Present.
Okay. And Nakia Muhasa Brown.
Present.
Great. It looks like we do indeed have quorum. I also wanted to propose, before we get started, a brief amendment to the agenda, if that's okay, Camille. We never elected a parliamentarian. So I think we should amend the agenda to nominate a parliamentarian and vote on that person so that we can have one for this meeting. Is that okay?
Fine with me. Is everybody okay with that?
So
Yes.
I'm going to move to amend the agenda.
Second.
Okay, Nancy is seconding that. And roll call vote. Camille.
I approve.
Antonia, yes, I approve. Tia's not here yet, right? Is that correct? Tia's not here. Vincent Liu.
Approve.
Okay, so, okay, Vincent Liu is present. Nana Poku.
Approve.
Alfred DeAngelis. Has Alfred DeAngelis arrived? Joseph Alexander.
I approve.
Yvonne Banda. Has Yvonne Banda arrived? Nancy Rendell.
Approve.
Vanessa Gonzalez Uoka.
I approve.
And Nakia Muhasa Brown.
I approve.
Okay, so we can vote to elect a parliamentarian. Would anybody nominate themselves as parliamentarian?
I would like to nominate Joe.
I second that nomination.
Okay, I'm happy to.
Okay. All right, and we will have to conduct another roll call vote. Camille, do you support?
I wholeheartedly approve of Joe being our parliamentarian. He has done a spectacular job over this last year, and I could not be happier to see you continue in this role. Thank you so much for your service.
Antonia Ferraro, yes, I second everything that Camille said. Tia Shelsteed has not arrived, is that correct? Vincent Liu?
Yes.
That was a bit choppy, I couldn't hear that.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Nana Poku?
Yes, wholeheartedly approve. Yep, thank you, Joe, for your dedication.
Alfred DeAngelis, has he arrived? Joseph Alexander, how do you feel about yourself?
I approve. Thank you.
Yvonne Bonda, is Yvonne Bonda here yet? Nancy Randall,
Yes, absolutely.
Vanessa Gonzalez Uoka,
100%.
and Nakia Muhasa Brown.
I approve.
Wonderful. We now have a parliamentarian. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you.
And now we can move on to vote on the minutes. Our new AA, Shanice, who is on this call, has submitted minutes for last month's meeting, July 19th. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? I wish to move to approve these minutes.
Second.
Okay. And I think that we can, instead of doing a roll call vote on the minutes, I believe it's okay to just approve them as long as there are no objections. Is that correct? Camille?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So does anyone object to approving these minutes? No. Okay, minutes are approved. All right.
Okay,
I
so,
will
yeah, so,
turn it
sorry,
back
go
to you.
ahead.
No, I was just going to turn it back to you.
Oh, okay, thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Nakia for our review on the CEC 15 budget. Do you need a screen share or anything?
Yes, so I wanted to, I wondered if it made sense to vote on the resolution first before we review the budget.
Sorry, I'm not following you. Which one?
We're going to vote on the budget resolution, right?
Yeah, let's review the changes. Like we'll look at the one that we talked about in July. If you all remember, we had voted on a CEC 15 budget for $15,000, $5,000 going to tech, $5,000 going to member reimbursement, and $5,000 going to, I don't remember. Help me out
I'm going
here.
to share my screen.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, so this is just a list of the items that we want to add to the budget for this term. And so the changes here with regards to what Camille just mentioned, 2 desktop computers, tape recorder, and a headset. Those are going to be, you can see the screen, right? Those are going to be included in this line item here. And then we wanted to add $500 for interpretation services, but we needed to find out if that's actually doable. Steve, would you know that off the top of your head, if we could allocate those funds to interpretation devices?
What specifically are you trying to use it for? But probably a yes would be my guess.
Okay. I'm not sure. Camille, what would we specifically need it for?
So, for example, tonight we don't have interpretation. There was some issue with the DOE and the time frame, and we've kind of run into this problem in the past. And so I thought it would make sense to have some money set aside so that we could just contract with a non-DOE vendor in moments where.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, in case of an emergency.
Yeah.
I would think so. Like, right, you just have to find a vendor.
Yeah.
It would be like any other DOE vendor.
Just thinking we'll put it out to bid like we have in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, you might,
Great.
like, yeah, I mean, 500, like, that's probably like one, one meeting, maybe two, depending on what it is, but it's good in case of emergency, but hopefully you don't have any more issues. We get, it's all set up correct.
Okay, wonderful. So do you think we need to increase that now, Camille?
I
Or
will,
should we just-
I think it's good for like an emergency fund, like you said.
Okay, got it.
Looks like you have a lot of
Okay.
stuff other places. So.
Yeah. Okay, so then moving on, the communication apps and templates, $250. We don't have any funds allocated for the parent workshops or the student presentations currently, but $5,000 have been allocated for the reimbursements, $250 for Shanice to travel one way for meetings, the $10,000 increase to her salary. And that brings us up to 25K. You also have 2,000 on the P card. And then we don't have anything to add to this just yet because we're in the budget, but this is where I plan to list all of the expenses for the members here and purchase orders and supplies, which is blank as well because we haven't gotten started yet. So that's what I have so far. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. How realistic is it to ask for bids on interpretation services in an emergency situation? If that $500 only would pay for a one-time thing, I just
So
don't.
I can speak to this.
Okay.
If we can put out a bid for a contract with a vendor, we can basically say that, we need interpreters and we'll pay them $50 an hour, and like we can make up our own, whatever we think is reasonable. So $500 would not just cover one thing, it would be for more than that. Right
How
now,
many bids? How many bids do you have to get? 3?
yeah, 3 bids. What are you thinking?
No, it's not something I've researched. So I have a lot of questions, but I won't know until we try.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we can't keep falling into this situation where we don't have translation. And if we have some reliable people that we can count on, in a pinch, then we may as well just try to make it official. Steve, did you want to say something?
Yeah, it's just in general, not about interpretation. At the last time I talked to Antonia last week, she asked me a question regarding using the P card for transportation for Chinice. I was able to get an answer like earlier today on that. You couldn't use the P card for that. You'd have to make a separate line for staff transportation. And then there's like a process outlined on how to be reimbursed for that.
Nakia, would you mind just sharing the screen again so we can look at the numbers?
Sure. So we already have the 250 there. The travel.
great.
Steve, does this look okay to you? Just, sort of
Yeah.
glance.
Yeah, for CEC, a travel expense, right? The language they used was for making a line for transportation of staff. Seems pretty similar, right? So I think that would work. As far as 250, right? I guess it depends on how many. I don't know the cost of what it's going to look like, but that'd probably cover a couple of times would be my thought.
What does travel expense cover? I'm wondering. This is my first time seeing this kind of expense. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, usually councils use it for their AA to go from the office to the school sites, especially when they have to transport large amounts of things. So getting a car and then getting reimbursed for that cost.
Ah, I see.
Steve, can you confirm that it's just for one-way travel?
Yeah, it's just you wouldn't be able to get it home. It's only for travel during work that you can be reimbursed.
Okay, thank you.
I personally think $250 isn't gonna cover it. If we are expecting to be in a different location for every one of these meetings, that's 24 meetings in a year. That's like at least $25 every ride, potentially. I think it could be more like $600 worth of travel expenses over the course of a year.
I think it really depends on what kind of transportations we are expecting. If this for Whooper, it's probably like what you said. But yeah, depends on what we are expecting.
I mean, she has to cart. She would have to bring microphones, paperwork, cups and utensils and plates, if we're going back to providing food for people. Carting all of that stuff, the laptop. I mean, it's not something you can just throw somebody on a train with. I think we're going to have to face the reality that it's going to be like some sort of a taxi situation, and those prices have gone up.
Yeah, I think 600 is realistic as well. So then where could we move, office supplies?
Well, the other thing is we could revisit it. We could see how it goes. We could see if the governor ever rescinds the emergency order, which she hasn't seemed to want to do. We could just leave the 250 and revisit it in a couple, like keep an eye on it and revisit it in a couple months. We have usually until February is the last time we can revise this, right, Steve? March.
Yep.
So if you want to just leave 250, see how it goes, but
is a 25K a hard stop? Could we, for instance, request more to the budget?
No. Yeah, 25 is the amount. It's really 15 for you all because the 10,000 has been already set aside.
Right.
I think this is going to be okay the way it is for now. And let's just sort of go with the flow, see how things are working. And I think we have to be more on top of our member reimbursements as well. We should have some sort of deadline for that. So, at the 3-month period, if nobody is going to use it, then we can roll some of that over. There's going to be ways, but we need to just get something in the computer right now so that this money actually can be used.
yeah. Okay, I agree.
Sounds good.
So then I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented.
A second.
Okay, I will call the roll. Excuse me,
Can I
sorry.
stop sharing my screen?
Sure. Sorry. Camille, how do you vote?
Approve.
Antonia, yes, I approve the budget. Tia Shelstein?
Approve.
Okay. Vincent Liu?
Approve.
Nana Poku?
Approve.
Alfred DeAngelis?
Approved.
Joe Alexander?
Approved.
Yvonne Bond is not here still, right? Okay. Nancy Randall?
Approve.
Vanessa Gonzalez Uoka? I approve. And Nakia Muhasa Brown.
Approve.
Okay, the budget has passed. Thank you so much, Nakia, for working on that.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the school liaison assignments. Antonia, can you share the screen, please? Okay, so what we've done here is we've added in some of the new schools that are coming online so that the future councils have access to this information and the families have access to this information and know which school buildings are going to be available and when. And we want to make sure that these new schools have a contact person on CEC 15. So to date, what we've done is schools that have an annex being built, for example, PS 516, the building across the street from them is being built and that will be an annex to PS 516. Yvonne Bonda is currently the school liaison for that school. And so he's been receiving all of the emails and information as construction has been going on. So I think in cases where there are annexes being built, the liaison for that school would just also follow up on the annex. In the case of new buildings being built, for example, I know Emily Shapiro is on this call, welcome. Her new school in Sunset Park is opening in the fall, and we have added that to the list as well. I've been working with her in this last year, but basically the items that are in yellow are schools that we need to discuss, and we also are adding the pre-Ks that are under Superintendent Alvarez's oversight. Right, Antonia? My screen is too tiny, I can't see it.
Pre-Ks are 15Z. That's how they're referred to. They're right here under pre-K.
So could you just sort of call out the names of the schools that require representation?
It looks like it's just the pre-K, right? Just the 15Z
And
76.
the school in Sunset Park.
It looks like Alfred. Alfred is represent 896.
Sorry, I'm just going to stop my screen for a minute because I'm having a hard time seeing the detail. A minute.
Oh, it is, okay, sorry, 9:58, yes, 9:58. We need a representative for that one too. Yes, you're right.
So we have the 3 pre-Ks and the school in Sunset Park, right?
Yes.
Can I ask, what are the pre-Ks? Like,
Where are they located?
are
or-
those school-based or are they like pre-K centers? Like what?
They're freestanding sites.
Okay,
So one on Third Avenue between Carroll and Second Street, I think. And then 2 of them are on 25th Street in Sunset Park area or thereabouts.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. I have the exact addresses. Do you want me to read them all?
I
Sure.
don't necessarily, I was just more curious, they're not like, they are DOE staffed and everything, okay.
So I can volunteer to take one of the pre-Ks. I really don't care which one.
I can also take one of the pre-Ks.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Camille. I couldn't find my hand raised. I don't know if it matters to you, but all 3 of the Little Brooklyn pre-Ks have the same principal director, Cynthia Lascano. So I don't know if that influences how you want to divide them up.
Okay, thanks for that information, Christine. Much appreciated.
Even though they're in different like 2 of them are on 25th Street and the other one, the address is just 3rd Avenue. So I don't know where that is, but
Yes, they're all under Cynthia. She has site directors that work for her at each individual site, but she oversees all 3.
So I think it does make sense for one of us to just take all 3. So what do you guys think?
I guess I can take all 3.
You're very busy with your working with
Secretarial
our new
post?
administrative assistant. So I don't
okay.
think that is a good idea.
Okay. All right.
So Nana, what do you think about working with Emily's school since you're the IEP rep? Maybe that makes sense.
Okay, that's
The
fine.
school in Sunset Park on 5th Avenue.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay, great. Okay, and so we have the pre-Ks. Joe has the pre-K 280, right? So probably that's a big enough pre-K for Joe to handle without adding more onto his plate. What do you guys think?
I guess, does anybody have less than 3 schools currently? Maybe they could take the pre-Ks if somebody's got less than 3.
I think you should maybe ask who has less than 4. I think that 4 was the number that we had landed on.
I think I might have less than 4.
I think we
Is
all
that
had
possible?
3, wasn't it?
Wait.
I think we all had 3.
Yeah, we all had 3. That was the number.
Okay, I have 4.
But does anybody have less than 3?
Nobody has less than 3.
The offer still stands to take the pre-Ks if nobody else wants them.
You know what? Let's like put this on the next agenda
Okay.
because I'm just sort of seeing the time passing and we need to keep going on the agenda. Alfred, are you volunteering?
No, I was gonna say, I think I have 6 schools on that list.
Do you? How did that
Yeah.
happen?
I
Oh,
don't know.
maybe something about the annexes?
Yeah.
No, but
What fee?
Yeah, Alfred has a lot of schools. I don't know how this happened.
All right, you know what? Let's just review them offline and we'll try to
Okay.
do this maybe by email then and we'll announce it in the next meeting.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so next on the agenda was a bylaws amendment on hybrid meetings. Oh, sorry, I'm on mute. I was talking. Next on the agenda was a bylaws amendment on the hybrid meetings. Tia was going to work on that. Here we are again with the governor making changes at the last minute. So as far as I can tell, we're going to be staying in hybrid for a while. Tia, will you continue to work on the amendments in the meantime, and we can look at it again at the next meeting?
sure. Sorry about that.
No, it's totally fine. Everything's working out the way it's supposed to work out. All right, so new business. We have 4 resolutions. It's a lot. We sent them out to the public, hoping that everybody got a chance to look at them in advance and review. I know a lot of our council members have made comments on the resolutions, the comments that were accepted. We're gonna review the resolutions in this meeting and take feedback from CEC members, but we're not going to be voting in this meeting right now. We'll take comments from members of the public in the calendar meeting, but whoever's on the call, if you're not able to stay on, feel free to write your comments in the chat and we'll review them later in the next meeting. So who is going to read out the resolution on District 15 Statement of Needs?
I can read it.
Okay, great, thank you. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Whereas, okay, I think that's good. Thanks. Whereas in the winter of 2020, the pandemic caused by COVID-19 set off the devastation of communities throughout New York City, causing upwards of 40,000 deaths and 2.69 million cases to date. Whereas due to the rapid spread of COVID-19, while scientists work continuously to slow the spread, businesses and schools were closed. Whereas there was a direct negative impact on our school communities, forcing in-person classrooms to move to remote, forcing families to work from home and double down as parents and teachers. Whereas variants of COVID-19 are still spreading, yet our city is opening up, and many families have suffered great losses from the pandemic and have not recovered. Whereas the DOE has offered District 15 schools a significantly low budget for fiscal year 2023, whereas the needs of District 15 schools total $50 million more than the amount offered by the DOE, whereas DOE projected student headcounts for the fiscal year 2023 year, I guess that needs to be changed, were underestimated and do not accurately reflect our school's register projections for incoming students. Whereas DOE projected staff needs for the fiscal year 2023 were underestimated as many of our staff members are retiring, whereas $50 million additional funds are required to fund adequately academic programming and intervention services, enrichment and cluster programs, social supports, including at-risk counseling, critical staff and staff supports, mandated IEP services, technology upgrades, class size reduction as mandated by law, and desegregation efforts. Whereas according to an analysis by the comptroller, the DOE has at least $620 million in unused funds from the fiscal year 2022 that will be rolled into the fiscal year 2023, and a total of more than $4 billion in federal COVID relief funds that are set to expire over the next 2 years, yet a reduction of school budgets has been put forth. Whereas the comptroller's analysis suggests that the $620 million in rollover funds would be sufficient to restore the fair student funding cuts a majority of our schools are facing. Whereas a restoration of funds after the mid-year adjustment will not allow principals to hire and maintain necessary staff in order to meet students' needs. Whereas our principals' reasonable first and second appeals are being denied, which is time-consuming, frustrating, and an unnecessary process. Whereas our children are our future and our schools require a prioritized investment of funds, whereas the DOE's projected pre-pandemic levels of funding is not prioritizing education, nor giving our children what they need. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the chancellor of the Department of Education, DOE, immediately reverse the DOE's reduction to school budgets. And be it resolved that the chancellor submit updated school budgets to the panel on education policy, reflecting the restoration as well as an accounting of unspent federal stimulus funds. Be it further resolved that the mayor promptly utilize any unspent and unallocated federal stimulus or other funds and submit a budget modification to the council to fully restore the $469 million removed from school budgets by the DOE. And be it resolved that Mayor Adams and New York City DOE increase the Community School District 15 public school budgets by $50 million for the school year 2022 to 2023.
Okay, great job. Thank you. Does anybody, Joe, do you want to handle the CEC comments?
Yeah, that's fine. Raise your hand, CEC members, if you have comment or question.
Yeah, I have a quick questions.
Yes.
About the whereas, where does that exclusive list come from? The list of service required for the 50 million additional funds. Did we just come out of the list or is it coming from somewhere?
The link is in the agenda to the spreadsheet, and you can look at all of the details. It came off of Galaxy.
I'm sorry?
From the DOE website.
Oh, so DOE's website lists,
Had to all be pieced together school by school.
so this list is provided by all the school in D15 or? Camille, is that what you said?
No, I'm saying there's a footnote there to a spreadsheet. Who's screen sharing? Antonia? Are you able to show the spreadsheet?
I think you might be misunderstanding what he's referring to. There's a
Oh,
there's a list.
Yeah,
and
there's a
correct me if I'm wrong, Vincent. You're talking to number 9, whereas there's no
Yes,
footnote on that.
Yeah, there's
Camille.
no footnote on that.
oh, I'm so sorry. It's like, so I don't know why it's all of a sudden so tiny on my screen. I just can't see anything here.
Yeah, the only footnote down there is the New York's COVID cases. It's not relevant. I was really referring to what that exclusive list come from.
Oh, yeah, this was from the schools. Yeah, this list was something that we put together, asking like everyone, all of us were supposed to do this work. We were reaching out to our schools, reaching out to our principals, collecting information. This happened like in June. So that list came from work that we did with our schools.
I see.
And that list was part of the statement that we gave to City Council.
I see. I feel that at the end we can add something like service that's needed by school. I feel that it doesn't need to be exclusive list. That's how I see it.
Oh, you want to add and other needs?
Yes, I feel that it doesn't need. We don't
Okay,
have
yeah, let's do that. Sure.
bound by very. It seemed to be very specific. I thought it's coming from somewhere. So I feel
I'm
that.
totally fine with
Yeah.
adding and other necessary items, or whatever language you think makes sense.
Like other necessary service, programming needed by school or needed by our parents, students, however you want to write it. But I just don't want this list to be very exclusive. It seems like it's coming from somewhere or some kind of official list.
Yeah, is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Okay,
Yeah,
does anybody want to come up with actual language?
Yeah, you can put an other needed service or program
Sure.
for our school. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Anybody else? I'm sorry about misunderstanding your question earlier, Vincent. I thought you were talking about $50 million number, which is, there's another footnote there with the spreadsheet, which what money each school is receiving for this year.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments, questions, or additions?
That footnote that you're referring to just now isn't here. I don't know. It sounds like you intended. Oh, here it is. It's on the end of the. Okay, I see it. Sorry.
I just pulled it up.
So I'm just seeing on your screen, there's other things. Joe, did you make an amendment there or something?
No,
I can't see what that says. It says replace something.
I hope not.
I'm gonna have to go on to my computer to see these things.
I undo something if I did something.
What does it say, Antonia? You're on
Okay,
mute.
I fixed it. Thank you.
And Nancy was trying to add something as well? Oh, just that you had reviewed it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's remove that. Thank you. So if there are no other comments, we can move on to the next resolution. Which is resolution to amend the New York State education law regarding charter school co-locations. And this is something that we've talked about in, I think, 2 meetings now, which basically is a loophole in the law that allows charter schools to co-locate in new school buildings without any public hearing or public input. And so this is a pretty short resolution. It basically just asks for clarification in the law of what an existing school building would be. So may I ask for someone to read this resolution aloud, please?
Sure, I'll read it.
Thank you.
Whereas New York State Education Law 2853, Subdivision 3, Facilities A details that a charter school may be located in part of an existing public school building in space provided on a private work site, in a public building, or in any other suitable location, provided, however, before a charter school may be located in part of an existing public school building, the charter entity shall provide notice to the parents or guardians of the students then enrolled in the existing school building and shall hold a public hearing for purposes of discussing the location of the charter school. A charter school may own, lease, or rent its space. Whereas an existing school building qualifies as a public school that is currently occupied by a school, whereas newly constructed school buildings that may be slotted for a specific use or specific schools are not occupied do not qualify as an existing school building. Whereas charter schools can request space in any DOE building that qualifies as having available space, including new construction. Whereas charter schools seeking space in an existing school building must provide public notice and hold a public hearing with the potentially impacted community members. Whereas charter schools seeking space in a new unoccupied school building are not required to provide public notice nor hold a public hearing with the potentially impacted community members. Whereas clarifying the definition of the term existing public school building will allow for greater transparency and accountability in decision-making within our communities and in collaboration with the DOE and SCA. Therefore, be it resolved that a definition of an existing school building be added to the New York State Education Law 2853, Subdivision 3, Facilities, clarifying that an existing school building is one that is currently occupied and or unoccupied, but designated for potential school use.
Joe, I'll turn it over to you for questions and comments.
Thank you. CEC members, questions, comments, or additions?
Just quick question about the third whereas. The third whereas said that newly constructed school building that may be slated for a specific use or specific school and are not occupied do not qualify as existing school building. Is that how it's being interpreted in the charter application process?
So there is no application. What I've heard is that the charter school need only send an email to the DOE requesting space.
But you mentioned that there's a loophole, so it sounds like they are interpreted in such way that it's being utilized.
Yeah. Well, it's not in my eyes, it's in reality. It happened, like, it was going to happen here in District 15. One of the charter schools asked for space in Emily's building. And it was because I found this loophole, started talking to Senator Liu about it and tried to get the loophole closed, and the charter school ended up going somewhere else in private space of their own. So it does exist, and I think that it's important because the School Construction Authority had told the Sunset Park community very clearly that any of these new buildings that are being built would not be for charter school use. And now we're seeing that our new buildings are, the charters are attempting to use our new buildings for charter school use. So just want to make sure that these buildings are used for their intended purposes and not for other purposes. And that, I mean, the reality is it's really just about public comment. It's not about not allowing them to co-locate. Like, we could still have a public hearing and they could still get approval to co-locate. So this is really just about transparency more than anything at all.
Yeah, I do agree.
Because if we don't have this change in the law,
Yeah, I do agree with the need of public hearing and transparency there. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we are interpreted the way that's being interpreted by the official during the process. So we're not institute anything that we not institute any of our interpretation there. That's what I'm saying.
nope, this is the way it is currently being interpreted and used.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody else? Okay, great. So with no other comments, we can move on to the resolution to restore school-based health clinics. And I think all of you are well aware of what's happening with the abrupt closure of the SUNY downstate clinics. Basically, no notice to families, no notice to principals, 2-week notice to staff. And all of a sudden we are down a bunch of health clinics in our schools. So many people on this call have been advocating strongly, working with our elected officials, working with the mayor's office, working with the Assembly and Senate, City Council, to try to get funding to reopen the clinics as soon as possible, to reopen them either under downstate or under a new provider. But resolution sort of speaks for itself. So may I have a volunteer to read the resolution, please?
I'll read it, Camille, if that's okay.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. So resolution to restore school-based health centers and bolster financial management operations in draft. 1, whereas school-based health centers, hereby SBHCs, are comprehensive primary care facilities licensed by the New York State Department of Public Health as outpatient or hospital satellite clinics on elementary, middle, and high school grounds. 2, whereas for the past 25 years, school-based health centers have provided a wide range of physical, mental, behavioral, and oral health services and health education promotion activities designed to meet children's physical and psychosocial needs and youth across New York City. Whereas research shows that health problems disproportionately affect urban minority and low-income youth, affecting academic achievement and educational attainment. Thus, SBHCs are a vehicle for eliminating racial, ethnic, and economic health disparities in the communities that they serve. Whereas SBHCs are also a critical point of access to comprehensive health and preventative services for undocumented or uninsured students. Whereas SBHCs promote students' well-being and address health issues that interfere with learning. They improve academic performance and graduation rates while promoting public health through higher vaccination rates. Additionally, SBHCs decrease school absenteeism and reduce the number of emergency room visits, hospitalizations, and complications from chronic illness. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic generated a severe decline in primary preventative and mental health services delivered to youth, including 44% fewer child screening services and 44% fewer outpatient mental health services. This translates to immediate and lifelong health implications for students in schools where SBHCs are mismanaged, understaffed, or eliminated. Whereas on July 29th, 2022, SUNY Downstate abruptly ceased SBHC's operations at all sponsored Brooklyn clinics, which serve the following District 15 schools. I'm going to skip reading the schools. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And whereas nurses have been removed from schools where SBHCs operated because SBHCs carry out functions that supersede the role of school nurses, who are limited to providing perfunctory services. Thus, by eliminating sponsored SBHCs in District 15, SUNY Downstate creates a health service vacuum that impacts even the most basic levels of care for students. Whereas New York City DOE assures that a nurse will be reassigned to all clinic locations. However, as excellent and essential that nurses are, they do not have diagnostic or prescriptive abilities, and as such, their ability to care for students is limited to first aid, referrals, and carrying out medical orders through submitted medical administration forms. Whereas evidence suggests that SUNY Downstate has mismanaged SBHC's resources, leading to unnecessary financial strains that can be cured through structural changes and effective leadership. Whereas despite reasonable reliance to the contrary, SUNY Downstate failed to provide adequate notice of its decision not to renew contractual duties with the New York City DOE. Consequently, in a breach of standards of conduct in the medical profession, SUNY Downstate prevented engagement with other suppliers that could have effectively replaced its SBHCs for students to retain medical services, leaving our community with a significant deficit in students' health care. Therefore, be it resolved that New York State and New York City elected officials will ensure that funding is available for SUNY Downstate to resume operations for all SBHCs to immediately reopen until another sponsor is instituted. Be it resolved that all school-based health clinics must be fully staffed with essential staff members, including but not limited to healthcare providers, social worker, and medical office assistant. Be it resolved that adequate state grants and performance review methods must be made available to launch emergency reopening plans of SUNY Downstate-sponsored SBHCs. And be it resolved that financial management review mechanisms be implemented immediately to ensure a transparent and accurate assessment of SBHCs, all previous and ongoing operational costs, and establish subsequent fiscally responsible support plans.
Thank you so much.
CEC member, I think we all heard the syntax error in number 2.
Yes.
Yeah. The youth across, yeah.
Yes. It just needs a little edit.
Yeah, other than that, it's excellent from my perspective. Anyone else?
Many thanks to Vanessa for drafting this.
Yeah.
It's excellent, excellent work, especially to pull all of that together. A lot of folks, and by way of introducing myself, my name is Anna. I am one of the nurse practitioners in one of the school-based health centers, the 293 building. And Vanessa, school-based health centers have multiple stakeholders, and it's a very frequently misunderstood model. So Camille and Vanessa, for your drafting of this resolution, I really appreciate you. It's because it's a complicated model to try to kind of put under a lens like this.
Well, thank you so much for all of the work that you do and have done and will continue to do, because we're going to get these clinics reopened. So thank you, Anna. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Because I can't even believe it. We're at 7:31. We are literally only 1 minute behind schedule for our calendar meeting. So with no hands raised, I'm just going to say we can adjourn this meeting at 7:31. Is everybody in favor of that?
Second.
Okay, cool. Do we need or want a 2-minute break? Get a glass of water, anything at all, or just roll right into the next meeting? All right, rolling into.
I think we should have a break. I vote break. Sorry.
Okay, we will have a 2-minute break. Is 2 minutes okay? Okay, we're coming back together at 7:34. I will put the recording on pause until that time. Okay, welcome back, everybody. It is now 7:34. And we are going to start our calendar meeting now. I want to just mention that we did end up skipping over one of the resolutions, our business meeting. It was a resolution to increase salaries for administrative assistants to the CEC. We'll pick that back up again at the end of the calendar meeting. So it is now 7:35, and I would like to call this meeting to order. Antonia, would you please do the roll?
Yes, sorry. Camille Cazzaretti.
Present.
Antonia Ferraro, yes, I am present. Tia Shellsteed. Is Tia Shellsteed here?
Present.
Okay. Nana Poku Ajakum.
Present.
Alfred DeAngelis.
Present.
Joseph Alexander.
Present.
Yvonne Bonda is, I imagine he's still out of the country. I don't know. Nancy Randall.
Present.
Vanessa Gonzalez Yoka.
Present.
Nakia Mahasa Brown.
Present.
Okay, great. We have quorum. And I will just announce that with this new school
Sorry, Antonia,
year.
just give me.
Yeah.
I think it's got Vincent. Yeah.
I didn't say Vincent.
No, I didn't hear my
Oh,
name.
I thought I'm sorry. Vincent, Lou.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Apologies. So yes, with this new school year, we're seeking a new student member to sit on our council. And if anybody knows of an incoming senior who lives in District 15 and might be interested in this volunteer position, please reach out to them and tell them to get in touch with us. We are going to send out an email with an application. So at that, I will turn it over to Nancy Randall to read the introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Antonia. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the District 15 Community Education Council tonight. We appreciate your time, and we are glad that you could join us. For those of you who are new to CEC meetings, there are 32 CECs throughout the city, plus 4 citywide councils. Each CEC represents a community school district and is made up of 11 volunteer members, 9 of whom are elected by parents in the district, and the remaining members are appointed by the Brooklyn Borough President, and we have 1 high school student member. CEC 15 is a state mandated public body responsible for ensuring that public school parents and the public have input in educational decisions that are made at the school district level. Our council reviews education policies and advocates for high quality education that benefit all of our District 15 public, elementary, and middle school students. CEC 15 serves 35 elementary and middle schools, and 1 high school under the oversight of our superintendent. CEC members serve in an advisory role on education matters to the district superintendent, the chancellor of the Department of Education, and the city and state elected officials. We approve district school zoning lines submitted by the Department of Education. We evaluate our superintendent. We review the district's educational programs, and we support school leadership teams. We also submit recommendations for the School Construction Authority's annual capital plan. We actively seek input and feedback from the public and encourage you to visit our website, cecd15.org. Take a look at our Facebook page, connect with us on Twitter, and write to us about any issues you may want to address or learn about. Each school has a CEC liaison. All of our names and contact info are available on our website. And please remember to sign the attendance sheet. And I'll pass it to Joe.
Thank you. So this is for our public comment protocol. Effective August 13, Governor Hochul signed Executive Order 11.9 extending virtual access to public meetings under New York State open meeting law, which allows New Yorkers to virtually participate in local government meetings until the state of emergency for COVID-19 expires on September 12th of this year. As a result of recent amendments to the open meeting law, citywide and community education councils can continue to hold virtual and/or hybrid meetings until September 12th. After that date, councils will no longer be able to hold fully remote meetings, but may choose to hold hybrid meetings provided certain requirements are satisfied. Tonight's meeting is taking place remotely and will include a public comment period so that we may allow for additional feedback from our families and school community members. You may leave your camera on, or for your own privacy, if you prefer, you may use audio only during the comment period and throughout the meeting. We also try our best to read the chats too. Rules of engagements. When you comment, please respect the privacy of others. Please do not include names of children or staff. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. During the public comment period, you may add comments to the chat or raise your hand to speak. Speakers will be called on one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute for each comment. We will hear as many speakers as the time allows. It is possible that not every question will be given time, so the best way to get your question answered is always to write us in the email that I will put in our chat. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. So again, my name is Camille Cassaretti. I'm the president of CEC 15. And I want to welcome everyone to our CEC 15 August meeting. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. We just wrapped up our business meeting where we reviewed a number of important resolutions, discussed school liaisons for this new school year, and we adjusted our budget to better support our community and our communication methods. So we're still in the summer months, and CEC members have been working diligently to represent the voice of District 15 families. Last week, we were invited to meet and speak with U.S. Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona. Nancy Randall and I joined Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez and other CEC leaders across Brooklyn. And some of our D15 parents were there, and Deputy Superintendent Nicole Lancelotto. So it was an intimate gathering. I was able to share our district stories about how project-based learning and school-wide enrichment models are making a world of difference in our classrooms. These education models are inherently diverse because children can participate based on their personal interests. Enrichment is the key to encouraging students to help develop their gifts and talents. Children can grow in a way that is far beyond the results of a typical classroom structure. So many people came together to help during the worst days of the pandemic, sharing food, helping neighbors, and as we are exploring the school-wide enrichment models, We are going to need families and community members to offer their time, their skill, and their talents to help in the classroom. We're doing all that we can to give our children everything that we can offer to help them academically, socially, and emotionally. And we're going to be calling on our community and advocates and volunteers to help our schools and families get what they need. We also discussed how the decrease in enrollment, coupled with a slew of new IEPs, has caused a sizable shift in the ratio of students with disabilities. Special education services are now offered to 25% of New York City students. So this ratio actually will help us to grow our collaborative co-teaching classes and allow for greater inclusion across grades and within schools. So we have to work with what we have, and this is a great way to create smaller class sizes with more teachers and adults in the room. I know that our schools and families have been greatly concerned with Mayor Adams' slashing of our school budgets. CEC 15 continues to advocate for another $50 million to be added to our district school budgets. There was a second city council hearing yesterday about restoring the budgets. Thanks to everyone who was able to attend and speak out. As you may recall, CEC 15 had a statement at the last city council hearing, so we sent that in again. And city council is also opposing the mayor's cuts to restorative justice. Eric Adams just continues to try to starve our schools of funding. It's just another reason that we should be ending mayoral control. Please don't forget this chaos that has been caused when you go to vote in the next election cycle. And speaking of voting, we are very close to the 9 o'clock mark. The polls are open tonight. You have an opportunity to vote for our new House of Representatives congressperson and our new state senator. This is happening because the district lines have changed, and it's a very important primary election. You can still make it to the polls and listen to this meeting at the same time. That's value of being on Zoom. It's a big ask, but it's very important that everybody gets out and votes before 9 p.m. tonight. Our next CEC meeting is going to be held on September 20th, and the Office of District Planning will be giving a presentation on the district data. I just want to flag that someone dropped in the chat that we do not have the closed captioning on. So if someone could please put that on, and I apologize profusely. So September 20th, save the date. Office of District Planning is going to be coming and giving a presentation on our district data. Come with your questions, send them in advance. We want to hear them. We want to be prepared. Please invite your school communities to come to this meeting. We're going to look at enrollment trends, and we're going to also look at the impact that charter schools have played on our district enrollment. So I have just a couple more things I wanted to share with you, and thank you for your patience. One is a word of gratitude for our school safety agents who are really here for our children, understand that children come to school with a lot of trauma and take the time to really get to know everyone in the school building. District 15 school safety is really amazing, and we love our school safety agents. What we really want to see developing in our schools is a school safety team that is addressing not only the physical safety of the building and our students and teachers and staff, but also the mental health component. So just like our teachers and staff, our safety agents should be trained in restorative justice practices. And these school teams should include social workers and other mental health professionals that can really aid our students in getting the care that they need and deserve. So we see a lot of work being done around mental health supports at our school-based health clinics, which really should be expanded to all schools. But instead, what we're seeing is that clinics are closing with no fair or reasonable notice to schools or families. So I want to thank the hundreds of families who have been working with CEC 15 to advocate for a reopening of these clinics. We've had thousands of emails that have gone to representatives from the DOE up to the governor's office. We need to make sure that these closures stop happening. We're in the same exact place that we were 5 years ago, but now there's a pandemic. And so the idea that any clinics would be closing at this time is outrageous and really unforgivable. We need to look at how to expand these clinics so that more of our schools can have access to the resources, including a nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant, medical assistant, and a social worker. CEC 15 understands the value of having access to these clinics, and we would like to celebrate SUNY downstate staff by honoring them with certificates of appreciation. And they have done an incredible job, worked so hard to support our students and families. And what SUNY downstate and the DOE and the New York State elected officials have created with these closures really just is despicable. But we appreciate you. And we had a survey that went out, and a number of staff people were nominated in the D15 school community. So when your name is called, if you can, please raise your hand so that we can see you and thank you. Carolyn Gruber, who is a PA at PS 38. Daniela Ardeljan, registered nurse at MS 51. Chivette Silver, who is a nurse practitioner at MS 136 and 821. Ali Claycomb, nurse practitioner at BNS and BCS. Miss Maria, who is a social worker at BHS. Miss Martinez, also at BHS, and Anna McEwen, nurse practitioner at BHS. Congratulations, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of the work that you've done. We will continue to support you in every way that we can and make sure that our families are provided with these essential services. So thank you so much. And this is not the last you'll be hearing on the subject. So if anybody, that's the end of my report. If any of our council members have anything that they'd like to share, now would be the time, or we can move on to the district report. Unfortunately, Superintendent Alvarez is not here with us tonight. He is not feeling well. And Deputy Superintendent Lancelotto is here, as well as Deirdre Keys. Deirdre, I'm so sorry, I forgot your title. So many changes happening. But I will hand the floor over to Nicole, and could somebody please make sure that Nicole has screen sharing privileges? Welcome.
Thanks so much, Camille. And hello, everyone. I am going to share my screen. I'm just waiting for access to do so. Superintendent Alvarez sends his regards. He is comfortable with us sharing that unfortunately he does have COVID. He is home resting. We encouraged him to take the night off. It's very hard to do that, but I'm glad that he listened to our advisement and is resting and healing. But thank you all for being here and for giving us some of your time this evening. I know there is a lot going on. Okay. I am here with Deirdre Keys, and she is our Executive Director of Student Support and Operations, and she's going to share a little bit throughout this presentation as well. Let me just put this in view. Okay, here we go. she's going to share with me, and then of course we'll leave time for questions. So just kind of building off of what Camille already shared, we had the pleasure and the privilege of joining the Secretary of Education and Congresswoman Velasquez. And so just thank you, Camille, for the comments that you made, and for parent leaders across the city who showed up and who advocated and really raised concerns and brought ideas to the table that, you know, I think will definitely improve our school system. So I'm hopeful that, you know, the Secretary of Education was inspired and took some great ideas away. And, you know, let's keep pushing on some of those ideas. But I had the privilege of being there to represent the district, and I had a few conversations with local officials, and just wanted to give that shout out and thank you too to Co-President Randall for being there as well. Okay, next slide. As many of you know, we as District 15, we grew from a team of 8 to a team of 21. And we've shared, you know, in the town hall, we facilitated a town hall last week, and in the July CEC meeting, we've been sharing a little bit about the growth of this team and kind of who these people are and what some of their work looks like and what they've been up to this summer. So Deirdre is going to speak to that and give us some kind of exciting examples and highlights as to what we are planning in preparation for the school year, in preparation of supporting our school leaders, our teachers, engaging our families. So I'm going to pass it on to Deirdre for that part.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I just obviously 2 minutes before this started, I got a message that my Wi-Fi is unstable, as typical. But we're really excited. We joined 2 teams. So I had the privilege of coming from Brooklyn South BCO, so I had a great background knowledge of the structure of the BCO. I also worked in Queens North in the BCO as director over there. So it was nice to know that we had 2.
Deirdre, I don't think we can hear you. Are you there? Does anybody else hear her? No, she's not there. Okay. Okay. Well, I will give her a minute, but I will continue on. Okay. So that's okay.
I'm sorry. I knew it. It was that unstableness. And I hope I don't go out again. But just we had like this great opportunity to build these with these 2 existing teams, and some of the items that we've been working on have been setting the structures and the systems and structures for this new team, because it really requires a lot of work. The 2 workflows were very, very different. And now the superintendent is really responsible for everything that was involved in both the BCO structure and the superintendency structure. So it really is a great task, and it is a great team that comes with it. But we've been working really diligently for the past month on setting up the structures that we're going to need to make sure that we can get information out to our constituents, families, schools, principals, teachers. Some of the things that we've worked on is action plans that will work with schools, creating an action plan, a sustainability plan for all the work that we'll do with schools. Other things we've been working really hard on is our first meeting with principals and their +1s on September 2nd. Working on analyzing data, working on parent-facing documents, including data from schools, demographics, things that can be at a one-stop shopping for parents. And the list kind of goes on and on. We really have been working diligently, and just bearing in mind that a lot of folks are on vacation, duly vacation is well deserved, but the team has really been joined together well, and I really feel strongly that we're going to be able to be a really formidable team. I'm not sure if you want me to share anything else, Nicole, or if I'm actually sharing, if I'm still here. But I did want to make sure that everyone knew that the team is working really, really hard And they'll be moving in a couple of weeks to their permanent place on the third floor with us.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just add that we're working with the Minor Collective. Many of you, may know Cass and Cornelius. They're staff developers. They work on culturally responsive practices, equity work, anti-racist work with teachers and school leaders. And so we've asked them to work with our assistant principals for 5 sessions this school year. So they're designing a series to develop our APs, and we're really excited about that. Deirdre talked about this new team that we're building, and on our team we have instructional coaches, instructional specialists. So those coaches are working with many of our equity partners through our grant. So for example, our math coach is working closely with this organization called Metamorphosis, and Metamorphosis is bringing together cohorts of clusters of schools who are collaborating and who will be engaged in intervisitations within their own buildings and across multiple buildings, doing inquiry work, looking at curriculum, looking at data, planning, giving each other feedback, really engaged in that collegial inquiry work that's so important for teachers. And so we're super excited that we have this team of instructional coaches who are just focused on District 15. And we have these resources through the New York State Integration Grant to amp up the professional learning plans, especially at a time when money, right, is a concern, and principals are, trying to allocate resources to the best of their ability. And often that means across the city, it means that professional learning is cut or is trimmed. And so we're really grateful, and privileged to have these, discretionary funds and additional resources to support the professional learning in our schools. So that's something that we wanted to highlight. The team's putting together, a resource guide for principals. One of the things, I was a principal in District 15, and one of the things, a struggle always is, you're communicating with multiple offices, and sometimes those offices don't communicate with one another, and it's difficult to find information and to be to keep up to date with information as policies change. So the team created this resource guide with live links, and it's there's different sections that are really key compliance areas and instructional, operational focused. And so principals, I know, will really appreciate all of the work and organization that's going on behind the scenes. We're going to share a family-facing calendar with all of the meetings throughout the year and workshops, and the same for a school level calendar, just so that, one of the things, when I first became a principal, a mentor said is organization builds trust, right? And so we're kind of thinking through that lens of let's get, the logistics and the operational stuff organized for our school leaders so that the more meaningful work can take place. And we can kind of alleviate some of their stress throughout the school year. So that's just a little bit of a snapshot. We're meeting with all of our principals plus one AP in person at Brooklyn Law on September 2nd. For a full day conference workshop. The Minor Collective will be there as well. They'll present a keynote and a mini workshop. We have lots of presentations, collaborative breakout groups happening. So we're really excited. We haven't met as a district in person in terms of principals and APs, in 2.5 years. So this is really exciting. We have a vendor providing breakfast and lunch, and it's really going to be a beautiful day. So we are excited about that. And that's sponsored by Sharzer Associates, a curriculum consultancy group that's catering and organizing this for us. So that was, that's super appreciated. So shout out to Sharzer Associates. Just some quick updates. Well, one, thank you all for those of you who came to our first of the year district town hall. We had, I think, over 100 people were in attendance, and lots of good conversation and lots of follow-up. So if thank you for those who emailed us directly. We were able to continue some of those conversations offline and provide individual support and gather, really specific questions and gather information related to specific questions. So keep doing that. Deirdre will put our contact information, our email addresses in the chat. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have a super specific question or a global question. We'll do our best to share with you, the information we have. And if we don't have it, we will get it for you. But we really want, we are available, right? We are available to you. And we're going to talk a little bit about how the district office is actually going to become even more available to all of you in the physical sense. So congratulations, to shift gears quickly. Congratulations to Valerie Vanderpoy. Some of you may know her. She has been a teacher at 295 for 19 years. And she moved into the assistant principal role last year. Principal Lisa Pagano retired, and Valerie is stepping up and taking on the role of interim acting principal. So congratulations. She is our only first year and brand new principal. Well, Emily Shapiro is as well, but I guess she's been the project director for a while, so I don't see her as brand new. But Emily Shapiro and Valerie are our new principals for the school year. We're very excited. 958, the building we were told would be ready August 29th, and Emily Shapiro is amazing, and I believe she's on the call. I can't see the faces right now, but she received word from SCA that the project, that the building opening is postponed a bit till September 2nd because of the I'm blanking out on the accident that took place, the crane that fell. And Emily can, you can jump in if you're there, if you want to add any more details. Hi.
Not going to come on camera. Actually, it's September 1st, so it's a little better.
September 1st.
Okay. But yeah, he said today that due to the crane collapse, that it did, push things back a bit, but they're still very confident that we'll be opening on time. No question about that. And they're working with us. They're giving us extra staff to help us with setup so that we'll be ready in time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Emily, for all you're doing. Opening up a new school is a heavy, heavy lift. So thank you. We're so excited. Our inclusion school, definitely work that Anita Scott, worked really hard to develop over the years. So shout out to her, for making this dream come true. And we're excited to see it through and to serve our community in this inclusive setting, which, I know many of us believe is very important for our kids. These are some updates that came up either at the July CEC meeting or at the town hall. So we're going to go through them quickly. I know we only have 10 minutes and it's probably been 8 minutes since I started talking. So I'm going to try to get through this quickly. And again, a specific question, happy to answer it here. But if you need, more of a one-on-one conversation, don't hesitate to reach out. Some of you asked, and thank you, Anna, the issue of school-based health clinics and, hearing Anna read the resolution, right, is personal for me. I was the principal of BHS. So I know how valuable the work was and is in the school-based health clinics. And specifically Anna is amazing. And, it's a huge loss to the community. And so I appreciate the advocacy that's taking place. We did reach out to the Office of School Health. Obviously some of this is out of our control in terms of, funding cuts and, SUNY Downstate. We don't work for SUNY Downstate, but we are in conversation with the Office of School Health. And many of you at the last meeting at the town hall asked, what does support look like? Deirdre reached out, and in purple is the response we received. I'm not going to read, each word to you, but we were told that the physician assigned to the 5 buildings, it's the last bullet there. His name is Dr. Kaparas, and the physicians visit their assigned schools depending on the need in collaboration with the nurse. I know that the Office of School Health, their communication to us is that they are working to identify a new sponsor. I don't know where they are in that process. They told us that they will keep us updated. We have, weekly conversations with the Office of School Health, just kind of, pushing for information and, constantly communicating with them so that they know it is a major concern for us and for our superintendent. So if there's more information you need, we can try to get that for you. But this was kind of the response to the big question around what does physician support look like? And of course, we'll share this PowerPoint and you can, read this more carefully and reach out to us once again. COVID health policies, procedures. This came out a few weeks ago. If you missed it, Vaccination is still required for visitors to enter school buildings and for DOE employees. And for high-risk PSAL sports, visitors must show proof of at least 1 dose of the vaccine to enter the building. Daily screener is no longer required. There is an isolation policy. If a student staff member tests positive, they must isolate for 5 days and wear a mask, etc. Face coverings are strongly recommended. Ventilation is a big conversation. We're going to share a little bit about ventilation and updates we've received. And then rapid testing. Schools are distributing tests, and if a staff member or student is exhibiting symptoms, or if there is a class where there's a positive case, the tests will be distributed. So if you have questions about this, you can reach out to your principal, your parent coordinator, or any one of us. But this is the policy as of August 23rd, 2022.
Well, I'm so sorry to break in, but I think you lost the screen sharing.
I did?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything on my screen.
Yeah, Nicole, I thought it was me when I lost internet. I've been trying to share it on my end, but I don't have screen sharing.
Okay.
I thought it might be me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I don't know what happened. I saw it nice and it was a full screen view for me. Okay, so the health clinic, did you see this?
I don't think anything was showing since Deirdre was talking.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, well, I'm gonna do a quick.
We saw that. We saw the
I'm gonna
team
do a quick
members.
review, and then we'll of course, send this out. We talked about the systems of support the team is developing. We talked about some brief updates in terms of 958 and our new principles, the health clinic. That's the right side that you see in purple. That's the update we received from the Office of School Health. So again, I'll share this. There's a lot of text there. I'm not going to spend time reading through it. But basically the physician assigned, there's one physician assigned to the 5 buildings, to the 5 sites. And that physician, will visit the school as needed. And there's more details there that the Office of School Health provided. I went through the COVID health policies and procedures. This is the same information we shared last week at the town hall, and policies do change. But as of today, this is the current policy. The district office, we're really excited to share that at 131 Livingston Street, which is where our office is located, there are 2 rooms that we are turning into family centers. And so room 301, many of you have been in that space, the 301 suite, so that common center area. That space is being turned into a parent resource center for meetings, for workshops, workstations where families can come use computers, review resources, grab a laptop. There's going to be comfortable seating, conference table for workshops and collaboration, flexible seating. So we're really excited to be able to open up this space for, definitely the last couple of years. We haven't had a lot of in-person interaction, and the district office, hasn't really been set up in an inviting way as we would like. And so we really want, to create this space where families feel comfortable to come to the office and have access to the team, and have also access to resources and technology. So that's something we met with a furniture guy today, and we're able to put some money aside to, for this family engagement piece. And we're super excited about that. So that's in room 301. We'll share photos and kind of get feedback along the way. And room 304 at 131 Livingston Street, Christine and Brenda, and many of you know, our parent leadership coordinator and our parent support coordinator, they will have their own office, room 304. In addition, they will have a conference area for adults and a space for children to work, to read, to play. So that is going to be an additional space. Really excited. And we're just, having fun designing it and getting ideas from the team. And so we'll share more about that, but just wanted to highlight that. We'll, send out logistics when those spaces open. Ventilation and facilities. We had a conversation. Carmine was here on Zoom at our town hall last week, and we met with him. He's the director of facilities, and we reviewed the ventilation report across our schools under Superintendent Alvarez's jurisdiction. We have 38 schools, and we are looking at buildings where there is, if you go onto the DOE site, you can look up each school, you can read the ventilation report, and you can see schools that are in compliance or where there are issues. You can see a red X or a green check mark. And so we went through the red X's, right? The highlighted area of concern. And we were able to gather more information, whether that X was there because it was a closet, or whether that X was there because it was, a technology space where computers are being held, but students are not. So we were able to gather more information to identify where there is concern. The good news is that we're in a pretty good place in terms of mechanical airflow, in terms of, all of our schools having, I know it's controversial, the HEPA filters versus non-HEPA filters, but based on the feedback from the town hall last week, we are inviting school facilities. Carmine will be there with directors who support our principals. There's two of them. One is Nick and Patrice. So they are joining us at the principals conference on 9/2, and they will be presenting the one pager that was discussed, the checklist of best practices in terms of what the principal look fors are, what the actions of teachers should be on a day-to-day basis, whether that's turning on the ventilation, the sheet machines, whether that's, opening windows, how to use ACs, how to, request information from custodians, how to work more collaboratively with custodians. And then what the principal can really use at the beginning of the year as a guide to share with the entire staff, so that there's more cohesion, right? So that there's more consistency across classrooms and across all of our schools. So it's something that we're working on. And if you have, again, a specific question about a specific school and you want to dig a little deeper, we're happy to review that data and share the plan of action that we have. But we do thank you for that feedback. We think it's important, and we're going to spend time on that on September 2nd so that everybody gets the same information. We met today with Larita Moy, our budget director, and reviewed where each of our schools are in terms of appeals, in terms of deficits, in terms of hiring. Hi, child just walked in. Hi. And we're in a pretty good place. I see that the resolution and the amount of money that is within that resolution in terms of what we lost as a district. I'm not 100% sure how accurate that is. At a quick glance, I noticed that some of the deficits that are listed there are no longer the case for some of the schools. So I just encourage, if you have a question, about a budget, really reach out to the principal and me, if you'd like. I'm reviewing every school's budget. I attended all the budget meetings. I work really closely with the principals on their budgets. So if you have a question about a specific school and you're seeing the number, right, that big number, negative, right, $1 million, negative $300, and you want to discuss what that really looks like and the implication and how that's impacting the school, I'm happy to talk about that. Right, we don't have time to go through the list, but I do think there are some discrepancies, and I do think that it is an issue, right? I think both things are true, but we are working on it and supporting our principals and advocating at the district level as well. In addition, we have our grant, so we're able to really cover a lot of the professional learning for schools, and so we're happy about that. This was shared at the town hall and will be shared again, just kind of bringing this back to the forefront that the chancellor has these 4 pillars that we, as a district, we align our work to. So reimagining the school experience, sustaining and scaling up what works, prioritizing wellness, and again, engaging our families. In a few weeks, we are going to, after we meet with our principals, we're going to send out more specific goals related to the format this year that's in the DCEP. So the District Comprehensive Education Plan that the district creates in collaboration with the DLT, the district leadership team. So we will have more specific goals related to District 15, related to our data, and aligned to the chancellor's priorities for the year. But we just wanted to lift this up so that we were all aware that these are the pillars kind of that we're working within. And then these are the 6 kind of big goals that come from the chancellor's office. And the 4 are really about what our students will do, right? All of our students will learn to read well, will be physically and emotionally safe, will have a high quality academic experience, and will graduate with a strong planned pathway to economic security, right? So the question for us is, what does that look like in District 15? How are we going to accomplish these goals, right? What is our roadmap? What are our resources? Who are our partners? And then those action plans, those individual plans for our schools, right? Because schools, it's a spectrum, right? Some schools have really strong early childhood literacy practices. Some schools need support in that area. Some schools have really strong social emotional learning practices. Some schools need support. So it's really individualizing and creating entry points for all of our schools while coming back to these large goals. And then the 5th goal is around our families and engaging and empowering our families to ensure they have the information, the support they need, and ensuring that they are also empowered, right, to participate in shared decision-making, to elevate their voice at the school level, at the district level, on the CEC, to inform policy, to have space in the district office to gather, right? So there's a lot of work happening there. And then lastly, the New York school system will reflect the diversity of the city it serves. So those are the goals and the priorities. If you did not see this flyer, we sent it out in multiple languages. Our second town hall is September 21st. The link to register will be shared. That is virtual. And then in October, we hope to have in-person town halls at schools, our schools across, across the district. So more information on that. This is the 3rd Wednesday of every month. So please sign up, join us. We want to hear from you, your ideas, your concerns. This is a great place for us to gather, to come together as a community, and to hear directly from you. And I believe that is it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you. I'm sorry that went a bit over.
Thank you. We'll have to have a very brief comment period. We are quite behind. I did have one comment myself I wanted to start off with, and I'm not actually looking for an answer. I just want to put it out into the ether that the Sharzer Associates that is paying for this very nice day for our principals and a +1 are the people that I personally believe siphon millions and millions of dollars out of our kids' educations through things like iReady. So it's a pretty controversial topic, and I'd rather, personally as a parent and a CEC member, I'd rather keep organizations like that at arm's length and not ingratiate ourselves to them in any way. But again, no comment necessary. Do I have any comments? Let's do CEC members and public together for the brevity. Please raise your hand. Oh, I see. Sorry, I couldn't see it. Anna, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks. I just, without having the answer from the Office of School Health in front of us at the moment, I just wanted to really be clear with everyone on the call that regardless of what their answer may be, and that there may be a physician available as a backup physician to nursing, to school nursing. I just wanted to not be mistaken. This is removing primary care from the schools with the closure of the school-based health centers and not replacing it with primary care at all. It's what happened. I used to be a school nurse before I got my nurse practitioner. I was a regular school nurse. I worked for the Office of School Health in District 13. When I needed an Office of School Health doctor, I had to make sure I had enough students who needed to be seen with a doctor visit scheduled on the same day. Then I would schedule it with the doctor. It took a long time to get that doctor to come to the site. And then when they did come, it was a lot of coordination to make sure that those children that might need to be seen by the doctor were not absent on that day. And indeed, the students who need to be seen by the doctor, who may not have primary care doctors of their own, were more likely to have to have absences for health-related reasons. Any case, I just want there to be no mistake. I understand that that's their answer, but I hope that this body is not mistaken in feeling that that is an adequate replacement, because it's just not. So I just wanted to make that heard at this meeting. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Nakia.
Thank you. Hi, Nicole. I just had a question because you mentioned the discrepancies about the funding, and I didn't see it listed or illustrated on the PowerPoint. So while I know that we don't have time to discuss the details of that, I do think that it's important to perhaps provide details of it to allow us to look at it, because by you suggesting that there are discrepancies, basically you're saying that the resolution that we put forth has discrepancies, right? So for the sake of making sure that what we are communicating is clear and that we have a clear understanding of what you're communicating, would you be able to provide that information to us so that we can do a side-by-side comparison, at least understand where you're coming from and how that impacts the resolution that we've drafted?
Yeah, we're happy to do that. I can speak with the budget director to pull that data. I know that from my conversations and reviewing the data, money that has been cut is not, right, it's complicated. You know, every school is different, whether one school has an enrollment drop, whether one school, you know, didn't get the same money because they're no longer Title I. Like every school has a different story. So it's difficult to say that a spreadsheet is going to tell the story. I think the spreadsheet could show if a school like PS 230, for example, it says, you know, deficit negative, you know, $2 million, right? If you just look at that, that's a concern, right? But when you dig a little deeper and you speak with the principal, you look at the budget today, you look at the programs that were not cut, you look at how, you know, there were monies that the school got that that hasn't continued into this third year because it was funding that wasn't going to continue. It's complicated. So I'm not saying the resolution isn't valid. I just want us to be clear about, you know, the spreadsheets that we can download don't always tell the full story. And 230 is a specific example. And I had a conversation with the principal a couple of days ago, and she's even saying, you know, why does it say that? My budget is actually really robust and I didn't have to cut as much as I thought I would, and I have what I need, you know. So I can ask the budget director for a document that provides a more accurate breakdown of the deficit, you know, the deficit of each school currently. I, again, don't know if that's going to tell the full story. That's why I'm offering to have like more school specific conversations, but I'll see what I can do, and, you know, definitely will follow up.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Antonia.
Hi, Nicole. I was just thinking about the principals conference where Carmine is going to come and talk about the ventilation list. I'm wondering if there would be any way to make a recording of that conversation on ventilation with the principals, because we get such specific questions from parents about the ventilation situation. And it might help if parents were clear, that their principals were clear on what these procedures are and how they can work better with their custodial staff. I feel like there's some mistrust between parents on this issue of ventilation, and maybe if there was some sort of recording of this that they could hear, maybe it would help build some trust.
Myself. The document that the facilities team is putting together, we want to share, and that was a request made at the town hall last week, and I 100% understand, you know, wanting that information to be shared and to be transparent so that we're all on the same page. And I think sometimes principals don't actually know how to hold, you know, facilities, and having conversations with custodians and talking about exhaust fans and, you know, MERV, you know, I mean, it's for some of our principals, right? It's not, they're instructional leaders, they're running their buildings. They're not necessarily asking the scientific questions of the world of, you know, facilities and, you know, how a building is structured. So recording it, I think recording it puts principals in a position of really not being able to like ask the questions and speak freely. I do think, and it is our intention to, whether it's a PowerPoint or whether it's a 2-pager, to share that so that there is a checklist and there is a clear protocol that parents will have, that school leaders will have, that we will have. Not all of it can be mandated, but we can say this is what's mandated and these are best practices as per the Department of Facilities. Please review with your teachers, hold your teachers accountable by checking in, by reviewing it at staff meetings, by highlighting where, you know, these practices are working beautifully. Meet with your custodian daily. Custodians should be meeting, checking in with their principals every single morning, having that checklist handy, you know, going on walkthroughs, being able to assess the quality of the air, like giving principals a little bit of the language, but also the liberty and empowering them to say, you can ask these questions. Here's some of the language, go for it. We support you. That is the intention of September 2nd. And we will share, you know, his team is putting together a PowerPoint, and PowerPoints kind of get crazy. So we're also asking that it go on a document.
Thank you. We have Kim next.
Hi, first, I want to thank Camille for inviting me. I'm a new parent and a former principal, so I have 2 perspectives on these topics. Quite interesting. But as a former principal, I had a school that did have a school-based health clinic, and I know the importance. It was a high school, so there's some degree of difference in terms of the services. But the day-to-day services that the clinics provide is just invaluable. So I don't know if there's another resource we can tap into for District 15 to get the services. So if downstate, you know, SUNY downstate is bailed out for whatever reason, and funding you can't question, you just have to go with what they're saying in terms of their funding, unless you're going to give them the money, of course. You know, I'm wondering if we can find other resources, and I know DOE's school-based health center office is working on it, but to what extent can we push them and give suggestions and move it forward? Because I know these things take time, and the last thing we want is for something that could have been prevented with you know, a child, whether being hurt or something that could have been detected through the ongoing daily care that the school-based health center gives, to happen. And then it's, you know, we're catching up and trying to prevent, you know, another disaster. So It's just mine.
Thank you so much for your perspective.
You're welcome.
Miriam. This will be our final question or comment.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
do you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a comment to make about the budget cut. And also, I was driving this afternoon with my daughter, and she turns to me very stressed, and she said, Mama, Mr. Nigel has been cut. Mr. Nigel is not anymore in our school. And she's in BHS, Durham Hill School of International Studies. And Mr. Nigel was Dean Nigel was part of our socio-emotional team, comment dire, restorative justice team. He was also helping a lot the students with the after school vis-a-vis basketball, etc. So she was really stressed out, and I didn't have any answer for her. So I just wanted to mention this. It's a big loss for our school. He is a very valuable young person and member of the BHS team, really valuable, and I was really saddened to hear that he was cut off. So this is reality, okay? So this is how these budget cuts are translating in our lives. Secondly, the health clinic, I am going to echo everyone on this call, and I really hope that we will have some kind of resolution, and that the health clinic will come back, that it's not totally lost, because again, our young adults, our teenagers do have some needs, and these needs can be easily, comment dire, taken care of, in a clinic that is based in their own school, a community clinic. So I really hope that we are going to get this back, and I will do all that I can with Camille, with CEC, to advocate with our principal, Samantha, to advocate and try to get this clinic back. Voilà. So it's like, I thank everybody who spoke on this call. Thank you, Nicole. And voilà, that was my comment for the night. Very, very saddened. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam. That was very eloquently said. And it is time for us to move on to our next section.
Can I just ask one question, Joe? I'm sorry. I've been asked, going back and forth whether or not to raise my hand.
Of course.
I just, I think Camille maybe put it in the chat. Nicole, thank you for the presentation. That how are the undocumented families going to get into the 113 Livingston building? Will they have access to the building to be able to access the family room that's being created there?
I don't have an answer to that question, but
Nicole, this is Christine. I can answer that question if you'd like.
beautiful, thank you.
Yeah, so as it is now, has it always been? Every parent, every family is welcome. All that has to happen is the security desk calls up to our office, usually Brenda or I, and we go down and escort. We don't keep anybody out for any reason. We would go down, speak to them, find out what they need, and escort them to the space. Anyone can come in, and if they don't have identification or whatever, they can still be escorted by a staff member. So we try to make it as accessible as possible. And they don't have to say I'm undocumented. Obviously, they can just say I don't have ID and I need to speak to somebody. And our safety agents at 131 Livingston are fantastic. We have a great relationship with them. They often themselves will run up the stairs to see if we're available and bring us back down to meet with the family and then to take them where they need to go. But thanks for looking out for them.
And I said last question. Anna Maria, you had a comment or question?
Yes, hi, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ana Maria. I'm the parent coordinator at PS24. Thank you, Christine, for that clarification. As part of my job, I also make sure that our families, especially in our school that we serve, many of our families are immigrant families that we serve and are undocumented. So it's nice to know that they'll have a space and that they'll be welcomed. And also that as PCs, we reach out to organizations that can help them with IDNYC IDs. Would that also be part where they can provide that type of ID? I'm sure they would be able to give them that ID as well. And also, I coordinate family trips. And part of what I do is I connect our families with different organizations. And I would love to organize a family trip to the central office so they can be part of this family room. And I know that many of our families feel comfortable when I go there with them because it makes them feel more comfortable. So if my question is like, who do I reach out to in order to coordinate this? Thank you.
Give me a shout out, Anna. You know where I am. Absolutely. Brenda and I would welcome you and your families with open arms.
Excellent. Thank you. Now we will move on to resolutions.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Deirdre. Thank you, Christine. If anybody else from the District 15 office is on the call, feel free to say hello, drop your name in the chat, contact info, and thanks for being here. So we are at a point in the agenda where we're going to be taking final public comment on resolutions that were reviewed in our business meeting. And so the first resolution on the agenda is the resolution on District 15 statement of needs on school budget. And we did have some comments from our deputy superintendent. Thank you. And from our CEC members. Joe, can I hand it over to you for public comment?
Yes. Please raise your hand if you've had an opportunity to read this for comments or questions. And it looks like we have no comments or questions.
Rachel wrote a comment in the chat. She said, just want to thank you for continuing to advocate for these budget cuts to be restored. And Rachel is a District 15 parent and she also teaches in a high school. So thanks, Rachel, for always being present in conversations. Any other comments from the public? If not, we can move on to CEC member comments. I know everybody had their comments earlier, but this is sort of a final call. All right, so then does somebody want to move to make a motion to vote?
I move to vote on the resolution.
Second.
Thank you, Nancy. Antonia, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I'm
doing two things at once. Okay, so roll call vote. Camille Cazzaretti,
I approve.
Antonia Ferraro, yes, I approve. Tia Shellsteed,
Yes, approved.
Vincent Liu,
Yes, approved.
Nana Poku,
Yes, approve.
Alfred DeAngelis,
Approved.
Joseph Alexander,
Approved.
Yvonne Bonda's absent. Nancy Randall,
Approve.
Vanessa Gonzalez Uoka. Was that a yes?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to beat her at it. Yeah.
Nakia Muhasa Brown.
I approve.
Okay, great. And the resolution passes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Listening to Vanessa's daughter come on the call reminded me that we are looking for a student member. So if anybody is on the call that knows a interested and willing senior high school student, preferably in one of our District 15 schools, please give them our information and we'll be sending out a application hopefully this week. So thank you so much. All right, so lots of things are coming in the chat. So I'm gonna let you look at that in case we need to like shout any of that out right now. Our next resolution is the resolution on school-based health clinics. So let me just see here. Anna wrote in the chat, Kim, thank you for voicing more support for student-based health clinics in general. To follow up on your comments, much advocacy work has been done over the last 6 years to try to find a way to keep the 5 SBHCs open. We have enlisted the help of elected officials, Hanif, Simon, Carol, to name a few, as well as have included many stakeholders, parent coordinators, students, parents, principals, health providers in the efforts. Yes, a lot of people have been in these conversations these last, I'll go with 28 days. Okay, so any comments from the public on the resolution on school-based health clinic support? Okay. Oh, I took your job. I'm sorry. I'm handing it back to you.
Fine, you're doing great. Yeah, no comments. Any CEC comments or questions? Last chance.
I just wanted to make a quick thing. I'm not sure if it's in the resolution as it's written, but they're school-based health centers, not student-based health centers. So that it's a little typo detail, but I don't know. So I'm not sure if that, and I just would say too, thank you so much. And this resolution feels like the last chance, or the kind of the last ditch attempt. We have tried so many things at this point. Downstate is, not reversing, and other sponsors have declined to take over. It's really, it seems that with so many other things going on, one thing that I'm hearing is that people feel as if this is too small an issue to take attention, and that I do not agree. Anyway, so I'll stop there. I just wanted to make those couple clarifications and give a quick answer to Kim about how much has already been tried, including the suggestions that you made, which I thought were really valuable.
Okay, I thank you for the information. I'm gonna speak to one clinic, which I mentioned to Camille, one health provider, I should say, that I know of. I work closely with them. They're partnered with my school. So I'll reach out to them tomorrow and see if I can get any positive feedback.
And I just want to add, I have not lost the faith. I don't think that we're at our last ability to do anything. I think that there's still plenty that we can do, and because it's August and many parents probably don't even know this happened. I mean, I have gotten hundreds of calls from parents saying, my child has diabetes, she goes to the clinic every single day. You know, like, these are real stories that are happening to our children, and we need to keep them safe. You know, like, they are used to having this level of care in their school building. And I'm not saying that in like a way of privilege, because we know that many of the students that are using these services, I mean, I've spoken to many of the staff, not just SUNY, because the billing is not being done properly. And this is why these clinics are not showing profit. So, you know, it's not just about, we need this service in our school, like we need transparency and accountability for this money that is being given to the clinics. So I see my internet is unstable, so I will be quiet and move on to your comments. Thank you.
And I would say on this point, we're not just talking about medical problems, and that, you know, I sat in on a couple of webinars of recruitment events for DOE for social workers, and we were promised this big push in hiring social workers. And what I found in discussing with the person coordinating that is that the social workers they're looking for are the ones that do assessment and write psychosocials, and not necessarily people who intervene for behavioral health. And these clinics have access to behavioral health, which is impossible for kids, even with means, with money in New York City currently, let alone marginalized kids or kids living without these resources. It's laughable that many of them could find anything outside of an ER visit, where they're also going to get sent away without being helped. So, I mean, this is, it approaches the level of like danger with the number of kids that we have living in the margins in New York City, that we're removing such a significant resource. Vanessa, thank you.
I just wanted to echo what you mentioned in doing some of the research that I did for this resolution. I found that this has been a much more dangerous issue, especially with teenagers, particularly after the pandemic. I mean, it's, you know, beating on a dead horse to mention how catastrophic the effects of COVID has been on socialization for children, but teenagers in particular. So having this resource for students, you know, both psychologically and physically, is just vital. And unless we have a viable replacement, it's just unconscionable that we are just leaving a vacuum open without any replacement. So I fully support this.
Thank you. Are we ready to move forward with a vote?
I move to vote on the resolution.
Second the motion.
Sorry, I'm muted. Okay, Camille, how do you vote?
I approve.
Antonia Ferraro, yes, I approve. Tia Shelstead?
Approve.
Yes, and Vincent Liu?
Approved.
Nana Poku Ajakum?
Approve.
Alfred DeAngelis?
Approved.
Joseph Alexander?
Approve.
Nancy Randall,
Approve.
Vanessa Gonzalez Huoka,
Approve.
and Nakia Muhasa Brown.
Approve.
Yes, okay, and the resolution on school-based health clinics passes, and I just want to thank you all for really illuminating that issue. There were a lot of things that I didn't know that school-based health centers did, and as we talk about making our schools safer, we should talk about this again. The loss of these school-based health centers in light of keeping our schools safe from all sorts of potential threats, internal and external. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. So we have two more resolutions. It's 8:53. Joe, how are we with the time?
How are we with the time? 7 minutes, right?
All right, so resolution to amend New York State Ed law regarding charter school co-locations. Sorry, I was just assuming that everyone who's on the call was on earlier. But if that is untrue and anybody has any questions, please feel free to shout them out, raise your hand, or write them in the chat. And we should probably put the resolutions up on the screen. Oh, it's up already, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'll go ahead, thanks.
Yes, please raise your hand. I'm looking in the chat right now. No questions there. For the charter co-location clarification. I don't see any questions. Let's move to a vote.
I motion to vote
Okay.
on the resolution.
I second.
Okay. Let's see. Camille Cazzaretti.
I approve.
Hold on, my Google Docs. Antonia Ferraro, yes, I approve. Tia Shellsteed.
Approve.
Vincent Liu. Nana Poku Ajakum.
Approve.
Alfred DeAngelis.
Approved.
Joseph Alexander.
Approve.
Nancy Randall.
Approve.
Vanessa Gonzalez Huoka.
Approve.
Nakia Muhasa Brown.
Approve.
Okay, the resolution passes.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so the final resolution on the calendar here is resolution to increase the salaries for administrative assistants of CECs. This resolution is being passed around at other CECs, and as we know, many of our CECs, including ours, have used part of our budget to increase the salaries of administrative assistants because the current salary is frighteningly low and adequate, especially for the level of work that we do. So we have somebody read it aloud because this one we did not read out loud earlier.
I can read it.
Thank you.
Resolution to increase the salaries for administrative assistants to citywide and community education councils. Whereas Article 52A of the NYS Education Law, Sections 2590B and 2590C, New York Consolidated Laws, Education Laws, continuation of city board and establishment of community districts, establishment of the citywide councils on special education, English language learners in high schools, state as follows. Each such council may appoint a secretary, pursuant to the policies of the city board, who shall perform the following functions: prepare meeting notes, agendas, and minutes, record and maintain accounts of proceedings and meetings, and prepare briefing materials and other related informational materials for such meetings. Each council shall be responsible for the appointment, supervision, evaluation, and discharge of the secretary. And whereas administrative assistants who are qualified and competent are an integral part of well-functioning CCCs. And whereas it has been difficult to find qualified and competent administrative assistants to fill vacancies that have occurred with more frequency in the past few years. And whereas while there may be many reasons for the rise in administrative assistance vacancies, the low starting salaries can be pointed to as the main reason. And whereas it is known that CCCs in the past were able to offer candidates the highest level salary, which was then around $46,000 annually. And whereas it has been ascertained the longest serving administrative assistants have been those who are earning the highest salaries. And whereas the latest salary offered to administrative assistance candidates is $30,000, which is near poverty levels and is not keeping up with inflation. And whereas recent qualified candidates offered the position declined since it would have resulted a large pay cut. And whereas discussions as to whether the position will be unionized have not resulted in a favorable outcome. And whereas the absence of interest in supporting CCC administrative assistants implies a lack of respect for the duties and responsibilities of the CCCs that are provided for in the law. And whereas it is unconscionable that such disrespect results in deflation of administrative assistant salaries toward a poverty level. And whereas at present, it has been reported that there are about 14 vacant administrative assistant positions out of 36 CCs. And whereas it appears that the NYC DOE is balancing the budget on the backs of low salaried staff. And whereas CCCs have been forced to voluntarily deplete their budgets in order to retain and or hire qualified and competent secretaries to support their duties and responsibilities. Can you scroll slightly up? Thank you. And whereas it is necessary for CCCs to have qualified and competent administrative assistants to perform their duties and responsibilities as per the law, be it resolved that in order to keep up with inflation, the NYC DOE immediately raised the entry level salary level for the position of CCC administrative assistant to at least $46,000, which was the normal salary around the middle 2000s. Be it resolved that a process be established to assure that the salary keeps up with inflation without necessitating CCCs to deplete their budgets. Be it resolved that CCCs that have volunteered to deplete their budget in order to raise the salary of their administrative assistant's position shall have the amount immediately reinstated in their budget. Be it resolved that unionization of the administrative assistant's position continue to be explored. Be it resolved that the New York City Department of Education departments responsible for carrying out these recommendations will implement these recommendations on or before January 1st, 2023, so that CCCs will be able to appoint and retain the most qualified and competent secretaries to support them in performing their duties and responsibilities as provided for in the law.
Excellent. Thanks, Nancy. Do we have comments or questions? Please raise your hand. Antonia?
So I was the chair of our hiring committee for our currently hired AA. We were able to hire a couple months ago. We had lost our previous AA in March of 2020. And no, March of 2021, right? So it was, yeah, March of 2021. So we were over a year without an AA, and we went through at least 7 rounds of interviews with candidates. Every round we offered multiple candidates the position, and they rejected the position. And the reason given for the most part was the low salary. And I will just correct the resolution. The salary, the starting salary, $30,085. So we should just correct that. It's an extra $85. So I can vouch for the fact that this low salary is a complete deterrent to anyone taking the position. And our CEC had to vote to add another $10,000 out of our own budget in order to entice someone to take the position. And I'm grateful that they did, and they are here on the call. So I hope you all support this resolution. Thank you.
All right. Can we move to a vote?
Yes, I second.
You're muted, Antonia.
Sorry. Camille, how do you vote?
I approve.
Antonia, yes, I approve. Tia?
Approve.
Vincent?
Approve.
Nana?
Approve.
Alfred?
Approved.
Joseph?
Approve.
Nancy?
Approve.
Vanessa?
Approve.
And Nakia?
Approve.
Thank you so much. The resolution passes.
Okay, great. We'll send that off to the DOE ASAP. At this point, we are almost done with our agenda. We just have a final general public comment. Anybody has anything that they want to share, discuss? A cool book you're reading, perhaps?
Do we have another vote or what?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought we have another resolution.
No, that was it.
Oh, that was it. That was it. Yeah.
Okay.
And 9:05. Long
Not bad.
meeting.
Not bad.
Let me have a quick question. I know that we have a member reimbursement that somehow didn't get to process by June 30th. Do we need to go over during the meeting, or that's something that we can work on our side?
Nakia, can we hear what Vincent was saying, that there's some member reimbursements that didn't go through from last year? So let's carve out some time, because you'll have to sign those, and then we'll bring them into a meeting. We'll put them on an agenda.
Okay, so we have to vote on this meeting?
No,
Is that how it works?
let's do the paperwork and then we'll vote.
Oh, okay. All right, just wondering the process. Thanks.
And Rachel celebrates the mural restoration and has a great book recommendation for our Equity Congress to look into. Grading for
Sounds like a good book for all of us to look into. Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. And definitely celebrating the mural restoration. It's very exciting. I hope, oh, Tia, you're the liaison for 295. Maybe you can get a couple of photographs and share them with us the next time in progress. All right, 9:07. Is everybody okay with adjourning? Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you again for being here.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.